So you can also email us at longlivehooky at no. The one thing I say every week and I get it wrong.
Hello and welcome to Long Live Hooky Street, the podcast where we rewatch and discuss every episode of Britain's most beloved TV comedy, Only Fools and Horses. I'm Jenny and I'm joined from Hong Kong by my co-host and sister Heather. Say hello, dude.
Hello, everyone. Today we are attempting our usual series wrap episode, but this time we will have reached the end of series 6 and had the 1989 Christmas special, the Jolly Boys outing. So usually we go over the series as a whole, discuss and compare our rankings, go over our listener comments, and we have been overwhelmed with comments and messages this month. So obviously we cannot respond to everyone, but we will definitely try and correct any errors or fill in any knowledge gaps we may have had when we recorded the episode.
Yeah, so we really don't know where to start with sending our thanks and appreciation to all of you out there. Whether you've bought us pina coladas or written us nice reviews, everything everyone has been doing to help our show increase the listening hours and the subscriber counts, we could not be more grateful.
Yes, we are genuinely so grateful for all of the support that we've had. We never expected any of this. So yeah, thank you so much. It makes everything that we are doing worthwhile, really does. We would also like to send very special thanks now to everyone who has bought us pina coladas, unless you've asked us not to name you. So if you've asked us not to, we won't. So a special thanks to Fran Evans, Mom and Dad, Rachel Fleming, Killian Donahue, Daniel Roberts, Robert Carl, Sanjeet, Dan Walsh, Donkey Kong, Emma, Michael York, Ray McNamara, Darren Helliwell, Tim, Alex K, Caroline Kempster, Shelley, and Jim Fox. And to anyone who has donated anonymously or asked us to omit their names, our deepest gratitude to all of you, genuinely. When the weeks are tough and the work days are long, it's the knowledge that you are all out there enjoying the episodes, whether they provide you with new fun facts or just provide you with the nostalgic comfort that we all need right now. It means the world to us to be able to give that to you. So thank you from the very bottom of our hearts. And just in case anyone doesn't know, let's quickly run through all the ways you can help, support, and promote the podcast. Where can people find us on social media if they want to, dude?
Okay, yeah, so now we have a Facebook page and an Instagram page for anybody that would like to follow us there. And we also publish the podcast on YouTube as well as most major podcast platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, Pocket Cast, Podbean, etc. and anywhere else that you've been listening. You can always let us know where you're listening to because it helps us to know where you're listening to the episodes. Obviously, we know when you comment on those specific platforms, but yeah, always let us know because sometimes the statistics websites that we use to track don't tell us where the listeners are. But recently, Spotify has let us know that the podcast now has listeners in 74 countries, which is up from 29 last time we did the series wrap. So the top 5 are currently the UK, obviously.
Obviously, yeah.
Ireland, again. The United States, surprisingly. Australia and Spain, a new country now in 5th place. We're in Spain.
We're not Australian, we're English.
Let's not forget Ireland, which is what you did last time. Where are you going, Trig? Ireland. So within the UK, we are being told by Apple that our top 5 cities now are London, Birmingham, Manchester, Edinburgh, and Glasgow. So that's quite a lot of Scotland now. So we also got our first 1-star rating on Apple, which I think is a true sign of success.
Yeah.
That's another good point, and actually something that we've never asked for before. But if anybody ever wants to drop ratings in the podcast apps, it will help us out because we've got a lot of listeners and a lot of followers, but we don't have that many ratings. And when somebody does come along and puts a 1-star rating and doesn't put any review or reason why they dislike it, all it does is harm our overall rating, which probably harms our distribution, which probably harms our visibility, which probably
harms us.
It harms us personally. I feel like a knife through the heart. I don't mind a 1-star review if you tell us what you don't like, but still.
Yeah, I agree. We're always open to feedback and criticism, absolutely. So you can always email us at longlivehooky@gmail.com. If you want to buy us a pina colada, you can do that on buymeacoffee.com. And all the links for that and the social media, other places to stream, are all on the channel pages and in the link tree, which can be found in the channel description on YouTube and Spotify, as well as on the social media pages. And we'll try to remember to add them into the episode description too, if that makes it easier for people on their phones.
Okay, so now we're going to start with our show history section. And if you're new here, we just use these wrap episodes to bridge the gap between the series and go into a little more depth on some of the behind the scenes goings on that lead to the next episodes or upcoming series. And after this, we also take a little bit of a look at other things that were going on in the UK around that time, just for context. So first, we will establish the timeline here. The Jolly Boys outing aired on Christmas Day 1989, but it was filmed in May 1989. The next episode, which will be Rodney Come Home, the production for this episode and the rest of Series 7 didn't begin until October 1990. So there's quite a big gap there where the cast and crew were not together. The BBC were very happy with the success of the extended length episodes, which had made up Series 6, and the record-breaking viewing figures of the Jolly Boys outing, I'm sure, helped too. They already knew they wanted Series 7, and John Sullivan had already written the scripts. And the first episode of Series 7 was supposed to be Rodney Come Home. The BBC asked John Sullivan to extend the script so that it could become the 1990 Christmas special. So we'll cover this in each episode as we go through Series 7, but just to summarize, the location filming for Series 7 ran from Saturday, October 6th until Monday, October 29th, with the studio shoots beginning on the 9th of November and completing on January 21st, 1991. So it seems this time much of the studio shooting was done on weekdays, which was not something we've seen before. Most of them have been weekends. So as usual, we have the full production diary from Mike Jones, and this time fully prepared in advance so we can get these dates correct. And as it notes in his production diary, Adrian Pegg had to plan around a lot of moving parts. So the first episode that scenes were shot for on this location shoot was actually Chance of a Lunchtime, not Rodney Come Home. You'll see this will be interesting as we go through. They were all shot in different orders. So all shot at the same time.
Yeah.
So you might ask, why wasn't there a full series in 1990? The lovely Jubbly book says it was due to David Jason's availability. So the week between the airing of Yuppie Love and Danger UXD on the 13th of January 1989, a new show aired on Yorkshire Television, which was eventually absorbed by ITV. It was called A Bit of a To-Do, which was based upon the books by David Nobbs. And this show only had 2 series. They both aired in 1989, but it did begin David Jason's relationship with Yorkshire Television, where he would go on to, in 1990, go on to film The Darling Buds of May, which first aired in the UK in April 1991. Now, each episode of The Darling Buds of May took 2 weeks to film, which I don't think is very long for these types of shows, but Only Fools and Horses was being filmed on very tight timelines, quick turnarounds, and as we know, 2 weeks probably felt quite nice and long for David Jason, but
Yeah.
still, with David Jason moving on to these other high-profile shows and having a more packed schedule would mean that Only Fools and Horses had to fit in around it, and if they wanted to continue, they would have to take that into consideration. So, despite how stressful it had been filming and producing the Only Fools and Horses 50-minute long episodes at the beginning of 1989, it was without question that the episodes would have to continue to be 50 minutes long after they had been for Series 6. So,
Yeah.
it's probably worth slipping in here a little discussion about how this was the last series to be filmed. So what do you think about that? Is this like weird that we're actually moving on to the last official series now?
I mean, for us, yeah, because we've, started at Series 1 with this podcast and gone through every single episode in so much detail. I'm already feeling very differently about Series 7, just coming up after all this information that I didn't know before we started doing this podcast. But yeah, I think it's really interesting that they sort of decided to do just this one more series, but there's actually quite a lot of episodes after Series 7. And it's interesting they just decided to just start doing Christmas specials sort of after Series 7 wrapped. But again, I'm sure you'll have some information on why that is when we get to the end of Series 7, right, dude?
Yeah, I mean, I try not to read ahead too much because I sort of like discovering it as I prepare the episodes.
Yeah.
So yeah, where the actual decision happened that no more series were going to happen and it was just going to be specials, I think it's more to do with the fact that we, as we've discussed many times, we're like, this is the end, like we keep saying that.
Yeah.
Again, David Jason standing in front of that window holding baby Damien would have been fine as the end, right? It almost shows that Rodney and Cassandra are back on track as well at the end of that episode. So again, they keep doing this. They keep leaving us in a position where it's fine if it's the end. And I'm guessing that it just became a thing where they're like, okay, no, it's over. Okay, one more. No, okay, it's over. Yeah.
Well, we do know that happened in the 2000s, right? Because even though, I mean, out of all the, potential endings where you had Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, then you had Rodney getting married, then, as you say, Del having the baby, all these feel like endings. The one that really was an ending was 1996 and, they became millionaires. I mean, that was clearly the ending, but even then they couldn't not do it because... I mean, I remember at the time, Only Fools and Horses, like everybody just wanted more and more and more. And obviously, if there's money to be made, the, television studios will be pushing for it, or whoever's in charge will be pushing for it. So, and I don't know, obviously, but I vaguely remember hearing that John Sullivan didn't want to carry on back then, and he was kind of forced into it a little bit. But of course, we'll talk about that more when we get to that episode.
Exactly. I haven't read ahead, and I'm always very wary, especially nowadays, because maybe 20 years ago I wouldn't have been as wary of this, but I'm very wary about misquotes on the internet and things being said that people said, and AI pulling out some stupid bullshit and telling me that someone said something when they didn't. So, yeah, who knows?
Didn't AI say that you live in Hong Kong when you searched our podcast at one point?
I did. I Googled the podcast and it said that I lived in Hong Kong.
Which is clearly wrong.
The chapter titles that they auto-generate in the podcast apps are completely incorrect as well. They say the weirdest things. So actually, it's probably a good time to throw in that we don't use AI at all to prepare this podcast. I actually tried to skirt around it. Like, it takes me forever to write these scripts, and I'm sure I could ask AI to write them for me. But every time I try to search something and AI gives me a summary, I go and look, and half the time the stuff that they come out with isn't even accurate, or the sources that they're using are wrong. Like, it will just pull stuff off people's opinions and stuff out of reviews instead of giving you the facts. And nowadays, it's hard to find things that somebody said. So when I'm talking about finding a genuine quote, I know we haven't gotten this far yet, but I think the same as you. I think I remember reading that John Sullivan wasn't excited about bringing it back after the 1996 trilogy, and it was more to do with pressure from audiences and studios that made him. But we'll get to that. Yeah. Because I know a lot. I know that there's a huge lot of mixed opinions on this. I feel like most people don't love the last three. But I know there are lots of people in the comments that have said they do, and we don't want to do a disservice to these episodes, and I haven't watched them in a long time.
No, we'll review them with the same passion and time as we've put into all the other episodes, absolutely.
But, I think both of us, we know that we agree that the 1996 trilogy was excellent.
Yes.
And we'll leave it there for now. Yeah.
And I think the 1996 trilogy is probably one of the ones that I actually remember watching in real time, because a lot of the episodes, that I probably did watch in real time, I was very young when I first saw them, whereas this one I was 10.
Yeah.
So I remember it. I remember the New Year's Eve that we watched it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was going to say, actually, I was trying to pinpoint the other day when I think I watched an episode for the first time when it was actually on TV, and I'm going to guess it was Miami Twice, because that was the 1991 Christmas special.
Yeah.
So that would have been the first time probably that we watched it when it aired. Maybe Series 7. So as we go through, we can look at the dates and try to figure it out. But we might have seen Series 7 when it actually aired.
But even if I did, I was only 4 years old. So I wouldn't remember it very well.
I'm pretty sure I remember watching Miami Twice when it aired, because I remember seeing the TV adverts building up to it.
Yes, I remember the TV advert with the crocodile in the background that they did as the build-up. And I remember loving the song. I was always singing but at night is a different world. Yeah. Go out and find a girl. Yeah.
So a little more on Rodney Come Home here, though. So since it did not end up being the series opener for Series 7, it was extended into a 75-minute long Christmas special for 1990 to air on Christmas Day, and it was used to set the scene for Series 7, which would then start airing just 5 days later with The Sky's the Limit on December 30th, 1990. So here is a quote from John Sullivan, and this is from the lovely Jubbly book, regarding the premise of Series 7. It was all about Cassandra and Rodney's jealousies and problems. I wanted to start off the new series with something real, and it had to be believable so that the rest of the series made sense. made sense. It was important for the audience to understand why Rodney and Cassandra were going to be arguing for the next 7 weeks.
Oh, yeah. I honestly don't understand why he sort of landed on this idea to carry the series through, because of all the problems that Only Fools and Horses sort of deals with, I've got to say, I think this is one of the most shallow, sort of petty things that he could have landed on, honestly. Rodney and Cassandra's relationship problems, because they just don't seem to be about anything real, like real, deep issues that run below surface level, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have some different opinions on this, because I personally do think that a lot of the stuff runs quite deep for Rodney, with the losing his mom and stuff. So we can assess that as we go through. I was going to say that I don't actually feel like, when I really think about Series 7, I tend to think about Del and Raquel's relationship more than I do about Rodney and Cassandra.
Yes, I
but
would
not
agree.
in Rodney Come Home as much. So
no, Rodney Come Home is very fixed on their relationship, Cassandra and Rodney.
But I don't want to go too in depth with Rodney Come Home in this episode, because we're going to do that in the next episode, in our dedicated one.
Yeah.
But one quote I took from the official Inside Story book by Steve Clark, and this quote is from Gareth Gwenlyn, who is now the show's producer. He said, "It was quite a downbeat episode, and that was down to John moving the characters on a couple of gear changes. The episodes that followed were only possible because we'd done Rodney Come Home. John and I had a long conversation about it, because it wasn't a conventional episode, but it was very pivotal to what happens afterwards." So I think we agree that this is true, and we've mentioned many times throughout the podcast that this is the point where a lot of the episode storylines have an element of Rodney and Cassandra's marriage problems woven in. In my opinion, like I just said, I don't think it dominates the series, but I do think that a lot of people think it does. So
yeah,
do you agree? Do you think it's more Rodney and Cassandra or more Del and Raquel?
I think if I think about what I didn't enjoy about this era of Only Fools and Horses, it's the Cassandra and Rodney relationship stuff. And you're right, if I think about the positive relationship stuff, I do enjoy Del and Raquel's dynamic more, I would say. But even they've got a few bits that I'm like, I think it's because ultimately, my favorite dynamic in the show is the three lads, and this sort of gets a little bit less as we go on now. And I think that that's probably why maybe I don't feel exactly the same way as I did about earlier episodes. It's a change. It's people will feel very differently about this kind of change. And honestly, it's very bold and daring to change the show in this way when it's been about these three guys, and it's a sort of a very it's highlighting a lot of male issues, things that men go through, friendships men experience, and then you kind of throw this marriage stuff in there, which men also experience. But obviously having these new characters and these newer focuses for the story, it was a gamble, I think.
Yeah, it was. And I think overall it ended up being, it kept the show alive for still continuing on for several years. And I think it was
and there's some wonderful stuff in Series 7.
Yeah. And it moves, like he said, like Gareth Gwenlyn said, it moves on a few gear changes. It kind of has evolved. It already evolved in Series 6, but Series 6 is still very focused on Del, Rodney, and Albert as well. Although, like you say, I could pull out loads of great moments from the later ones. So, I think however you feel about it, this is the angle it's going in. So, let's try and highlight here the biggest production changes between Series 6 and 7. So firstly, this is the point where it was acknowledged that the Nelson Mandela set had to be subtly extended to accommodate the full-time introduction of Raquel living in the flat. So is this something you ever noticed as a kid, dude, that the flat is bigger as of Rodney Come Home?
You know what? I never did, but now you've just said it. I'm like, oh yeah, I suppose it does feel less claustrophobic, even though there's more people on the set a lot of the time. That's true. The sofa's longer, isn't it? Whereas it used to be like a two-seater, and then suddenly, like, it used to be a two-seater sofa with a chair, and now it's like a chair and a three-seater sofa, and it all still fits.
Yeah, well, so this is where the biggest change was made in the middle. So the extension was done by production designer Richard McMahon Smith, and the changes were made by extending the wall sections either side of the balcony. So doing this gave Tony Dow more space to frame the shots, with more cast members being, physically present on the set. So that is where the change was made. And if you really think about it, it takes the cast longer to walk across the flat. But I think it might have happened at the same time that TVs were getting bigger and like we were getting older. So I'm not sure I noticed it. I really don't think I did. I just think I thought...
I didn't notice it. No, not until you just
But now
said
when
it.
you really do think about the early series and how quickly Del was able to move across the flat as opposed to the later ones, it's more steps. It's like a bigger, wider flat, but it isn't obvious. It's done so well and so subtly that I don't think you notice it.
True.
So McMahon Smith also had to build Del's bedroom at this point. So it's amazing that we haven't actually seen Del's bedroom until now. It wasn't just Del's bedroom that had to be built. It was the interconnecting hallway area. So we did see flashes of this back in like Ashes to Ashes, and you could argue briefly in Little Problems, but this was actually a new set that was built for this series. So that hallway section, because they used that in a few episodes between the bedrooms, like with Raquel and Albert and everybody. So Del's bedroom is very Del. It's very loud and heavily patterned, mismatched wallpapers, the leopard print throw on the bed, and the famous hot pink heart-shaped headboard. And this is a very classic look for Del's bedroom that continues throughout the whole show, that remains. But I'm glad it does. But let's be fair, in real life, Raquel would have redecorated not only that bedroom but that flat after she moved in, don't you think?
Yeah, I think that's probably true. But then saying that, I mean, maybe she doesn't care that much. I mean, we don't know that side of Raquel's character, right? But I do think Rodney's bedroom is shown in Miami twice, of course, as well. The stupid bank. Like, I guess that was something they had to construct as well.
Yeah, and I always feel like Rodney's bedroom seemed like a storage cupboard, but we'll come to that when we get to Miami's twice. But I mean, the insinuation is that Raquel does not get a job, so she's home all the time from this episode all the way to the end. There is no way that she would have had it looking like it looks. It just looks so bad. She would have at least tidied up.
I mean, she does tidy, but you know, she's hoovering and stuff, but she's not redecorating. Although she does say that they were redecorating Damien's bedroom in Mother Nature's Son.
Yeah.
That's what their plan was until Del put all the crap
I think
in
I've
there,
just been spoiled by our mom, because
our mom is very artistic and she always used to decorate really nicely. Everything always looked really nice. I agree with you. Yeah.
Every room that mom walks into becomes beautiful after like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And Raquel just let that flat stay the way that it always has. I mean, obviously they, no matter what, they had to do that. They couldn't make the flat look like it had a woman's touch, because it would have ruined it.
Well, also, Del would have still been piling up all his crap in the background on occasion, you know, and if she made it nice, that would have also been a point of contention. So maybe that's another reason they were just like, oh, screw it, we won't do that, and we'll make it out like Raquel understands that Del needs this ability to have clutter everywhere.
It's true, but I'm just saying the reality of it. Most of the time when a woman moves into a flat like that, it becomes a lot nicer looking, let's face it. So, with regards to the production of Series 7, they learned their lesson well and truly with Series 6, and they planned ahead and they started shooting further out. So, the cast insisted that they needed 10 days of rehearsal time, although they must have really honed their skills, because ultimately they found that that was too long of a time, according to Tony Dow. Having said that, I still think the turnaround time was still tight towards the end of Series 7. I mean, 3 men, a woman and a baby shoot was completed on January 21st and it aired on February 3rd. So I think that's still quite tight. I mean, that's editing and production that's tight, not necessarily the filming, but...
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. It's like our podcast turnaround.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you thrive in these circumstances, and you can tell because of Series 6, they did thrive in the pressure environment.
Yes.
But it doesn't mean that it's the best way to do it. I mean, sometimes it does make it better, but sometimes it would be so stressful, you know? But I think you agree that you need pressure to do shit, don't you? Like, if you don't have that pressure on you, you don't necessarily get it done. So
yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah. Another thing that happened between the airing of Series 6 and Series 7 was that another small special episode was made. So this one was called The Robin Flies at Dawn, and this was a 5-minute sketch written by John Sullivan and starring David Jason, Nick Lyndhurst and Buster Merrifield. And it was filmed on December 1st, 1990, which was the same time that Rodney Come Home was in its production phase. And it was filmed at the RAF in High Wycombe and intended for the troops serving in the Gulf War. Have you seen it, dude?
Not at all. In fact, I never even knew of its existence. Some of the other ones that you've mentioned to me, I've seen, on YouTube, and I haven't watched them, but this one I had no idea about.
Yeah, okay, so I'll just do a very quick basic synopsis here. So the setup starts with Albert setting up a video camera to shoot the three of them next to the van, and the van has been kitted out with a huge machine gun on the roof. So the first thing I noticed here was a familiar line from a later episode was first used in this sketch, and it is he's no David Bailey, is he? David Bailey, more like Bathe It Daily. Do you remember what episode that's used in, dude?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask what episode. Fuck. Oh, no. I'm going to get you back with the quiz, Leah.
Think about they're all posing in front of a camera, and it's in a future episode. So what episode would that be?
Posing in front of a camera. All I can think of is Video Nasty. Oh, I know. Is it the christening in Miami Twice?
It's the christening, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so
Woohoo.
It seems like they're playing to a live crowd from the sounds of laughter around and the shadows. They tell the troops that they are there with all their wives and girlfriends. But the camera does cut to the crowd at one point, and it appears to mostly be children. So Dell is trying to say that they are filming from a secret location to send well wishes to the troops, but Rodney and Albert keep giving the game away that they're in High Wycombe. It's mostly just classic trotter banter, but they do include a somewhat serious message of gratitude to the troops towards the end of the clip. It's worth a watch. I don't remember where I watched it. I think it was a Facebook link. So just all you would have to do is Google The Robin Flies at Dawn.
Okay, I think this leads us nicely into going over some of the news headlines from 1989 and 1990. So you could definitely say that this was our era because we were kids of the 90s, and most of our favourite nostalgic memories come from 90s TV. And it was likely around this time that we started watching Only Fools and Horses, as we mentioned earlier. So I would have been 4.
You could only have been about 4.
In the year 1990, and Jenny was 6. And from reading through these entertainment highlights for 1990, I see that there are a lot of shows that I watched growing up debuted in 1990. So I'm very excited to talk about some of these.
Yeah, so since we had talked about TV channels before, it's probably worth highlighting that it was around the end of 1989, 1990 that Sky TV was about to become a thing. So I remember us getting Sky in the 90s. I'm not exactly sure when it was that we got it, but the 90s would have been the time that everybody sort of remembers. And these big black boxes would start appearing under your TV with all these channels, and it was overwhelming because we've been so used to just having 4 channels. So,
and there was a card I remember you had to put in.
Oh, the Sky card. I forgot about that. I was going to mention the big dish that appeared on the side of the house. It was huge, installed.
Oh, we know Boise has one in Series 7.
Right. So yeah, so it fits quite nicely into Series 7 starting with Sky's the Limit. So here are some of the main news headlines that are not entertainment related, just to start us off with. So let's start with, on January 25th, 1990, the UK experienced the Burnsday storm, where hurricane-force winds were reported to have killed 39 people in England and Wales. And then another 14 people were then killed in Wales on February 26th.
So on February 11th, live coverage was aired of the African National Congress leader Nelson Mandela's release from Victor Verster Prison near Cape Town, South Africa. Following this, on April 16th, the BBC aired Nelson Mandela, an international tribute, a concert held at Wembley Stadium in honour of Nelson Mandela, where he himself appeared alongside many prominent musicians.
And on the 15th of March 1990, Iraq hung British journalist Farzad Badsoft for spying. And then Daphne Parish, a British nurse, was sentenced to 15 years in prison for being an accomplice to Mr. Badsoft.
On the 15th of April 1989, it was a terrible day in UK history. The Hillsborough disaster occurred in Sheffield, and 97 Liverpool fans lost their lives in the crowd crush.
The summer of 1990 took us to Italy for the World Cup, where England were knocked out by West Germany in the semi-finals penalty shootout.
The UK's involvement in the first Gulf War began on August 2nd, 1990, after Iraq invaded Kuwait. The UK deployed over 50,000 military personnel, the largest single British deployment since World War II, contributing significantly to the US-led coalition that liberated Kuwait in early 1991.
On the 22nd of November 1990, Margaret Thatcher announced her resignation as leader of the Conservative Party and therefore as Prime Minister, having led the government for more than 11 years and the Conservative Party for over 15 years. She was the longest-running serving Prime Minister of the 20th century. A few days later, on the 27th of November, John Major was elected leader of the Conservative Party and became Britain's new Prime Minister.
Yeah, I remember John Major a lot from my childhood for some reason. Not anything major about him. See what I did there. It was just seeing him on the TV all the time. So on the 23rd of November 1990, the best-selling children's author Roald Dahl died of cancer, age 74, in Oxford.
And into the Christmas season now. On the 1st of December 1990, Channel Tunnel workers from the United Kingdom and France met 40 metres beneath the English Channel seabed, establishing the first land connection between the United Kingdom and the mainland of Europe for around 8,000 years.
On the 8th of December 1990, the UK ground to a halt following heavy snow overnight. Large parts of the country were left without power after snowfall brought down power lines, disrupting the electricity supply. Many rural areas were cut off. Oh dear, we've been cut off for several days while the army was called out to help restore power.
Yeah, and following that, on December 25th, the storms on Christmas Day left more than 100,000 British homes without power.
Merry Christmas.
It was Merry Christmas. There were probably quite a lot of people that couldn't watch Rodney Come Home then.
No big loss.
No worries. I don't know. Maybe somebody can tell us, because I haven't done the research on this. Like, how soon after Christmas Day or any episodes were they repeated again? Because, like, because we had the recording, didn't we? We had Rodney Come Home recorded.
We did, yeah.
Yeah, so we must have not lost power unless they recorded a repeat.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Here are some entertainment-focused headlines from 1990. Many of them focus on firsts, premieres. I was so shocked to discover how many great shows premiered in 1990. So first of all, on the New Year's Day highlights on BBC One included the network television premiere of the 1985 romantic drama Out of Africa, starring Robert Redford and Meryl Streep. Quite relevant here because the film is actually mentioned in Series 7.
Yes. And January also brought us the debut of the iconic sitcom Mr. Bean on ITV and the US animated series Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles on BBC One. Another one for January, the US action drama series Baywatch, starring David Hasselhoff and Pamela Anderson, made its UK debut on ITV also.
And on February 2nd, 1990, the BBC School's gay-themed television film Two of Us was at last given its first daytime showing on BBC Two. So the channel had previously shown the film, but only late night in March 1988. So it confronted the Thatcherite government's attempt to ban gay sex education in schools via the controversial and since repealed Section 28 legislation. I threw this in here because we've discussed this in Series 6 a few times, so I thought this would be interesting to add in here. This was a big step forward in allowing things that contained gay content to be on daytime TV. So I thought this was a pretty big one.
Yeah. So on February 15th, one of our favourite childhood game shows, The Crystal Maze, dun, 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 made its debut, dun, 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 on Channel 4.
Dun, dun. On April 6th, the Australian children's science fiction comedy Round the Twist made its UK debut on BBC One.
Oh my god, that shit was creepy. I remember that show. It made no sense. It was all over the place. But I loved the theme song though.
Every child of the 90s seems to remember the show. That's why I threw that in.
On April 14th, the debut of You've Been Framed, presented by Jeremy Beadle, was shown on ITV.
Jeremy bloody Beadle!
On April 21st, the final episode of You Bet, presented by Bruce Forsyth, was broadcast on ITV. So we grew up with Matthew Kelly as the host.
Matthew Kelly, yes.
I gotta say, I'm not sure if I ever knew that it was once presented by Bruce Forsyth. Did you?
No, I don't think I did.
I don't know. That makes sense because we were probably too young, but we definitely watched the Matthew Kelly You Bet. Mm-hmm. I loved that show so much as a kid.
Oh, yeah. It was a lot of fun. I also liked Stars in Your Eyes. That was Matthew Kelly as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Moving on to June 15th, the long-running children's arts and crafts series Art Attack made its debut on Children's ITV, presented by Neil Buchanan. And you know you want to sing it, dude, so let's do it. Da, 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 da,
watch out, Arnie. You'll give yourself an art attack. Da, da, da. See, that was filmed before Art Attack was a thing. That's why.
Yeah.
That's where they got it from.
That is where they got it from. So I'm going to read this next one because this is one of my favorite TV series. So moving forward a little here to September the 2nd, the long-running US animated series The Simpsons was broadcast in the UK for the first time, making its debut on Sky One. Call of the Simpsons was the first one to be shown on Sky, but actually that isn't the first episode. The first episode is Simpsons roasting on an open fire. So I guess they didn't show that one because it was the Christmas special, but actually the next episode is Bart the Genius, so I don't know why they went straight to Call of the Simpsons. It's like halfway through series 1, but who knows. And then also I'm going to read this next one because another TV show I love. On September 26th, Star Trek The Next Generation made its UK debut on BBC Two with the feature-length episode Encounter at Farpoint. Now that is the first episode of The Next Generation, so 2 shows I absolutely adore there.
Okay. Well, also on this date, following a 9-year absence, the long-running children's series How is revived as How To on ITV, presented by Fred Dinniage, Carol Vorderman, and Gareth Jones. I remember watching How To. I didn't know how was a thing.
Yeah, I remember How To as well, but was that like arts and crafts things like making stuff?
Yeah, I think it was all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like both, yeah.
How to do stuff. Yeah, that makes sense. On the 20th of September, the debut of the panel game show Have I Got News For You was shown on BBC Two, presented by Angus Deaton. If I've pronounced that wrong, feel free to correct me.
So spooky season in full swing here. On October 23rd, David Lynch's critically acclaimed serial drama Twin Peaks made its UK debut on BBC Two.
And on November 2nd, BSB merged with Sky Television, becoming British Sky Broadcasting. Of BSB's 5 channels, only 2, the movie channel and the sports channel, remain on the air long term, though both are eventually renamed.
Between the 18th of November and the 23rd of December, the BBC's serialisation of the Chronicles of Narnia concluded, with the 4th and final story, The Silver Chair, being aired in 6 parts. So The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe aired in 1988, Prince Caspian and The Voyage of the Dawn Treader aired in 1989. So this was the end of that era.
I love those series. They're so nostalgic. The music, everything. Brilliant.
Yeah, so that's the BBC ones. And they've all been since remade into big blockbuster movies. But I think
CGI monstrosities.
Yeah, I think a lot of British people probably like the BBC ones, although I know Mom didn't like the BBC ones because she said they weren't like the books and the movies are more like the books. So you probably have your preferences depending on whether you wanted it to be like the book or not.
I just thought they were so atmospheric. They were like, there's something about them that's just, but obviously that's because I watched them as a kid. So.
Yeah, but they obviously now, if you watch those back to back with the movies, they seem dated.
Yes, the acting is a little interesting and some of the animation, but I just love, again, the music is just amazing in those.
Oh,
I've
dry
probably
up.
just played some of it underneath. Oh, dry up. Best insult ever.
Okay, so let's move on to our corrections and episode discussions now, shall we, dude?
Okay, yes, let's do that. So we have to go back a little bit in time here, back to The Frog's Legacy, because we had not published that episode at the time of the last series wrap. So it takes us 3 to 4 weeks to get the episodes edited in time. So, you know, sometimes that happens and I'm the editor, so I'm sorry for that. We've had to be very selective here, as we've mentioned, since we have so many comments now. So we're mostly focusing on corrections and knowledge gaps.
Yeah, so for The Frog's Legacy, I really just have this one comment to make. And this is just a quick one because I don't want to go on too long. I dropped the ball and I forgot to do the research at the time. But the locations for those final scenes in the churchyard, when they come outside and then they go to the beach, were in 2 separate places. Sorry, the church is Helmington Church in Suffolk, and the beach was Holland-on-Sea, Clacton-on-Sea. So thank you to PDGT on YouTube, and Jason from My Only Fools and Horses has also done the tours of these locations on his page. Mm-hmm. Moving on to dates here, I would surmise here and say that we got many comments about fans' feelings about Raquel, many agreeing with us, which our main takeaway of that episode was that Raquel was much more likable at this point, and before the writing took her character into the nagging wife role, same thing happens with Cassandra. It's funny because Raquel and Cassandra do not actually appear together in any scenes until much later in the show. Their first conversation, I think, is not until Miami Twice. Would you say? They only briefly appear in a few scenes together. They don't talk until the phone call, right? In Miami Twice. And I think that showing their relationship to each other was not really a priority of John Sullivan. I just wonder how that might have affected the way they come across as the wives if they had been like a friend, like two friends together. Because they never really elaborate on their relationship. I think the biggest conversation they ever have is in Fatal Extraction.
Yeah, well, she goes to stay with them. Yeah, of course, that makes sense.
So I did want to add a little bit of extra detail about the filming and production schedule for Series 6 in here, because Mike Jones did provide us with that, and we'd already recorded dates at the time. So the first day of filming, which was November 6th, 1988, was used to film the scenes under the clock at Waterloo Station. I think we did mention that those were the first scenes that Tessa Peake Jones filmed. But then after that, the next 2 days, Monday and Tuesday, November 7th and 8th in 1988, were filming Yuppie Love, where Rodney and Cassandra first dance in the club and Mickey gets the lift home. And then following that, Wednesday the 9th, they went back to dates and filmed the scene where Rodney picks up Neris. So I thought this was really interesting. So Rodney met Cassandra and then he went back and went on his date with Neris in real time. We always said that it felt like a year had passed since Dates and Yuppie Love, but actually the Dates was filmed after that scene in Yuppie Love. I thought that was really interesting. So then they went on to film the car chase scene, and then they started filming Danger UXD. And then, so they were filming all of these different scenes all intermingled. And then they went back to do the evening school shoot where they are outside the evening school. Then they went on, did Chain Gang outside the 111 Club. Then they went back to Yuppie Love. And then finally back to Dates for Dell's arrest, the car park argument scene. By the end of November, they were filming those big long days of the Chain Gang outside the restaurant scenes. And then they went back to complete Yuppie Love. And we mentioned this in Chain Gang. They had to go back at the end of December to film the rest of the Chain Gang location stuff, and that's where it all kind of used up all the location budget. So I just wanted to add that in because I don't think we really mentioned the schedule when we did it. But we did know that a lot of stuff got moved around. Final note on Dates is that I think we figured this out by the time that Dates was edited, but that was Tessa Peake Jones singing.
Slow Boat to China.
Yeah, so our listener Steve Perrin confirmed that that version was in fact performed by Tessa Peake Jones. We said it sounded like her, and that's why you couldn't find it on Spotify, right?
I really like that version of it. It's my favorite version actually of the song. So
yeah, okay. So let's move on now to Yuppie Love.
So for Yuppie Love, first of all, I noticed that my ranking of 22 shocked quite a few of our listeners. I know it's in a lot of your top 10s and a favourite of many people. So, yeah, I guess it's one of the biggest outliers so far, dude. Do you think?
Yeah, I'd say so. Most people have it high up, and for you, and some people it had it as number 1. So I think you having that as 22 is a pretty big outlier. But yeah, I mean,
it'll happen, guys. It'll happen. You know, we've all got different opinions on things.
Yeah, and it would be pretty boring if our rankings had turned out to be the same. So
yeah.
So several listeners did let us know that they live in roads that begin with the. That's definitely a thing.
So we also noticed that fans tend to agree with us that the media is to blame for overhyping and somewhat ruining the impact of the bar scene. And of course it was excellent, but the overhyping phenomenon is real. And we could blame the internet, but I think just in general documentaries of the 90s and the noughties, it kind of started the obsession with that particular stunt. So
yeah, I watched back a few documentaries the other day just while I was lying around, and yeah, God, they really do go overboard with these big moment hype things.
Yeah. It's not even Only Fools and Horses exclusive. It's just like top comedy moments. That is always in the montages. It's always in like the top 10, if not the number 1. You know, it's usually that and Fawlty Towers that take the top spot. So
I find it very grating the way that people talk about it, and I know that's exactly what we're doing with the podcast. But I feel like we're not doing it like that, though. I don't know.
I know exactly what you mean. In the documentaries, when they ask some like comedian they've got on there to comment on the different things they've chosen, they're like, that moment was just amazing. Like, it was so unexpected. It's like, oh, shut up.
Yeah. I know, I guess I don't know. It's not like anybody's fault. The people who just want to keep making these documentaries as filler, but they just say the same thing over and over. So
they do. Yeah. It's always the same stuff. Yeah, totally agree with you.
So, one of our listeners, Paul Ratcliffe, mentioned that our favourite Prime Minister, Margaret Thatcher, introduced the idea of people buying up the council properties. And at the time, it was quite an obsession of yuppies. So this does make sense that this was something that Rodney would have been against. And we did discuss this. It goes all the way back to Series 1, that Dell is of a working class background, but his political views are often more conservative leaning, where Rodney is more liberal. So they have that conflict all the way through. You see Del like jumping on the bandwagon for all of these kind of conservative, more yuppie rich people ideas, and Rodney, like you said, not always following through a lot of the time, virtue signaling, but still
a bit of virtue signaling,
saying that he's against all of these things. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. This that actually was falling into what was going on at the time with Margaret Thatcher. So yeah, let's move on to Danger UXD, Heather's favourite.
Yes, so two of our satisfied regulars over there, Sanji and Bernard, pointed out that we didn't acknowledge the Pepsi and Shirley line. So apparently this was very topical for its time, so here we go. Pepsi and Shirley were a couple of Wham's backup singers that went on to form their own pop duo in 1985, and the first of their 2 albums was released in 1987. So I might pronounce this wrong, but Shirley Holliman was white and Helen Pepsi DeMack was a woman of colour, hence the reference to the dolls. So hopefully that cleared things up a little bit for everyone. And thank you for the comment.
Yeah, I don't know if people didn't know that, but we didn't mention it, so I thought we'd throw it in because several people mentioned it. And also I did notice on the same line that we were watching a documentary the other night, and Shirley was in the documentary and was over the moon to have been mentioned in this episode. So I thought that was pretty cool. Our listener Ian Turner explained that on the knock line, because at the time we said we didn't know what that meant, but this is similar to the way that Del and Rodney are selling in No Greater Love, where they went door to door and people would really only be able to afford to pay for their items in installments. So when they get a knock at the door, they pay. And you had asked listeners to let us know, so I thought I'd follow up on that one.
Yes, I appreciate that.
So our listener Carl pointed out a little continuity issue for the series, and I'm surprised now when I think about it that you didn't grasp onto this for dear life in Little Problems, but Boise implies in this episode that you had already paid Del for the video recorders when he says that Del is left a lot richer than when he arrived.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't notice because I was all wrapped up in how much I love the episode. So Chris and Rich Derbyshire let us know that Rodney's I know a man who can line was a reference to the old AA adverts from that era. So I know we mentioned we love that line, but we actually were unaware of the reference. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you can watch those adverts on YouTube. It's funny. It must obviously have been a reference to that, but we didn't know that.
No.
So our listener John Tully confirmed that Albert is humming the very beginning of Beethoven's Fifth when he walks out the room.
Clearly I don't know what that is because I didn't know what he was humming. And our longtime listener, Killian, 100% agrees with me that City News is what was playing on the Chinese takeaway. And they missed the knowledge because the video recorder didn't record it. So thank you for that, Killian. I appreciate the support.
Yeah, Killian always agrees with you. It's good that you have some support with your wild theories. Doctor Who TV fan let us know that the exact scene in Rock and Chips where Clayton Cooper appears, and he's a friend of Reg, Joan and Grandad and Reen when he's shown keeping Reg in line when he starts to get aggressive with Joan. Once that was pointed out, I do remember that scene. So I do need to rewatch Rock and Chips probably before we go ahead and do some episodes on it in the future if we can. So
yeah, we're bound to. Yeah.
But yeah, let's move on to Chain Gang.
So let's address the elephant in the room one last time. 99% of fans knew that Del was just kidding with his description of Alan when he's talking to Cassandra. So he may have known him, but they were not friends when Alan lived on the estate. Okay, we concede that is the situation. Yes.
Right. So Sanjeet pointed out another funny parallel from this episode and Cash and Curry, because we've mentioned a couple times that there were a few signs that Cash and Curry was like perhaps an early attempt at this kind of crime episode. And Rodney jumping in the van and speeding away without everyone in the back is the same as that moment in Cash and Curry when he drives away without Del and leaves him with Mr. Rahm, the owner, on the car park. The owner, Mr. Rahm.
Funny echoing here, isn't it?
I thought that was interesting. Drop in.
Yeah, that is interesting. I didn't notice that either. So, and our listener Gary Bridle commented to say that in those days, being on a ghoster meant to be doing something throughout the night. So in this case, drinking. And he mentioned the meaning of this has changed now. And you're absolutely right, because obviously now we know that if you're ghosted, it means someone doesn't get in touch with you anymore. So
yeah. I think that's a bit of terminology that has changed. You're totally right. I don't think anybody would think that it meant through the night now, but yeah, it's exactly how it's implied when Del says it. So yeah, let's move on to the unlucky winner is. So this is quite relevant since we've spoken about Del's bedroom set today. Donkey Kong reminded me that people on Reddit have pointed out that the trouser press from the Spanish hotel room in this episode is later hanging out in Del's bedroom, implying that he brought it home with him on this trip. Which is honestly hilarious and very Del.
Yeah. Oh my God, I did not notice that at all. That's great. A great observation. And Guy Parkinson added to our list of times Del's leopard print travel gear appears. It's also shown in Mother Nature's Son when they go on their own trip to Brighton. And we totally forgot about that one. So thank you, Guy Parkinson.
Yeah, one of our longtime listeners, Scott Andrew Brast, let us know that he was in the audience for this episode.
Amazing.
When he was of Groovy Gang age. So we hope you don't mind here if we share your observations, because I think this is so incredible to know. He said that the atmosphere was super electric and that there was so much laughter he could barely breathe. They did have to do many retakes because the laughter was drowning out the dialogue. I think we've talked about this before, about how sometimes you can see that the cast are framing what they say and waiting for laughter to disperse.
Yes.
It seems. But I think you can definitely feel the energy of the audience in this episode, very particularly in this episode.
I agree.
So everybody seems to be just having such a wonderful time. And I love hearing the point of view of somebody that was actually there on that day. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I'm very jealous. And another one of our longtime listeners, Rachel, was able to confirm that Amazon and ITVX do, in fact, cut out the middle finger moment. But Amazon keeps the break your neckline.
I checked my DVD from the first release and it is on there along with still being on the VHS releases. So I think this is just a rebroadcast thing. It's kind of shocking to think that a middle finger needs to be cut out.
Oh, no. Crazy. So another one of our longtime listeners, Ed McKay, was able to help us out with the on the firm, meaning that you've been made partner by your employer. So Del is just reappropriating the saying in a relationship context, kind of like a blokey thing to say.
As I mentioned before, there are mixed opinions on this episode. I wasn't sure what to expect. I thought loads of people would just be like, yeah, this is the best. And there are lots of people whose number one this episode is. But there are also lots of people who find it uncomfortable because of Rodney pretending to be a kid, or maybe just because of Rodney being put in a really horrible situation again. And yeah, people might remember it was in my teens. It's not in my top 10, and that's why. So I think there are lots of people who do have mixed opinions. It seems to be one that generates a discussion.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I love it. Obviously, it's my number 2. So.
And I'll just carry on with this. So for Sickness and Wealth, let's move on. I dropped the ball on this. Mike Jones had sent me the first draft script of this episode before we recorded our episode on it, and I didn't have time to re-script our episode before we recorded. But we posed the question several times throughout the recording of Sickness and Wealth of whether anything was changed because of the time constraints and the episode needing to be studio bound. So reading through this script might help to fill in a few of the gaps. So this could potentially be a lot of information, so I'm doing my best to summarize again here. So in the original script, there was a completely abandoned idea that alongside the dresses, the Trotters were selling some cut glass whiskey decanters that Rodney purchased alone down at the auction house. So this reminds me a little bit of the suntan lotion.
Yeah.
So the episode starts with Rodney kind of mulling over his bad purchase and he went without Del. So that would have been the same kind of beginning. So in classic Rodney fashion, he's nosed it up. They are all broken and glued back together, these glasses. And I would say the basic premise of the scene is overall the same, but as Mike pointed out in his notes here, the first draft of the script has Albert say that Dr. Meadows was Australian. I thought that was pretty interesting, so they must have decided to change that. So yeah, we talked about this a couple of times while we were recording Sickness and Wealth, and we mentioned Dr. Becker gets forgotten, you know, like he was the doctor originally. They don't mention him again. So he was in the original draft of the script. So in the first draft of the script, they mention Dr. Becker, not by name, but they say there was another doctor. And Del says the last time a doctor came into this flat was to see Grandad and Mom, and they both died.
Yeah.
So that was a line from the original script. And originally, that first scene that we talked about, the really long scene at the beginning of Sickness and Wealth, was actually set in the morning because it ends up with them leaving for the market. And then the next scene later reflects the overheard phone call. So we were right about our guess on that. That was separate scenes that was eventually turned into one big long scene. So, and in the original script, Albert is the one who overhears Rodney's conversation on the phone, not Del. So, and then immediately following this scene was intended to be the dinner, where with Cassandra's parents. And I did mention that at the time, that it never got written as a script, but the placeholder was in the episode draft. There was going to be a dinner with Alan, Pam, Rodney, and Cassandra.
I'm so glad it ended up in Jolly Boy's outing instead.
Yeah, the only thing that's a shame, I guess, in a way, is that Pam doesn't get a lot of screen time, and she barely gets any screen time in Little Problems, and then in Jolly Boy's outing, she's in that one scene. If they'd had this scene in Sickness and Wealth, it might have introduced the characters in a different way, but I'm guessing it would have been quite a lot of, Pam putting her foot down on Alan for having a good time, but it would have had no Dell in there. So yeah, it would have been. I'm not quite sure how it would have been, but anyway, it never got written. It was just a placeholder in the script. And then following that, the next scenes were actually pretty similar to the way that the original script played out. So there wasn't much changing. There was a little bit more detail around Trigger's recollection of his gran making contact with Arthur, and there was history built because it made it Trigger knew of Elsie and her medium powers in the original script because he was a little kid at the time. Oh, yeah. And then so they do mention Dr. Becker in the doctor scene in the original script. Dr. Shahid says that Dell's records indicate that he came to see Dr. Becker in 1984 for a blood test, which is a full circle for Thicker Than Water.
Yeah. Oh, that would have been a good reference.
Yeah, although Mike pointed out here in his notes that Thicker Than Water was 1983, not 1984. Not that this matters, but it's just interesting to add. There wasn't actually a special in 1984, if we remember back, because that was the year that they were filming the beginning of Series 4 with Leonard Pierce, and that's when he died, 1984. So, interestingly, there was originally intended to be a visit from Jevon and Mickey in the hospital as well in the original script, because they... that's related to the whiskey decanter storyline, so that's probably why it was cut. And other than that, the overall bones of the script and the story were very similar to what ended up happening. So Sullivan must have known that he couldn't do any location shooting already when he wrote the script, because there's no location scenes in it. So it seems that he changed the end of the hospital scene from the first draft, because originally Dell is just going to buy a home gymnasium and he tries to sell some stuff to Dr. Meadows in the hospital. So I think he just had Sullivan had just a knack of knowing when he could add in the more serious stuff. So he decided to elaborate the script and make the ending a lot more serious and not comedic, which we discussed a lot when we recorded the episode. So you can go back and listen to that one if you haven't. And finally, for Sickness and Wealth, we kind of posed the question as to why this was the lowest ranked episode for Series 6 on IMDb. It's kind of an outlier. It fell all the way into the 30s on the IMDb, even though everybody says Series 6 is so great. And several of our listeners think that it is really great, but I think that might think just it's less funny than the others. And that might be why, because the Dell is normally the humorous center of the storyline, and Dell's storyline is more serious. And a few people said that, so I thought I would just throw that in. But
yeah, that does make sense. Yeah, but I do, as I mentioned when we talked about it, it's very sort of, there's some almost like skits, sort of scene by scene skits that you can do, the seance in the doctor's office. I think these are just brilliant scenes, and they do bring the humor back in.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a really funny episode. I do think the humor and the seriousness is balanced, and you could say the same about Little Problems being quite serious in some ways. So speaking of Little Problems,
what a great segue.
Yeah, let's move into Little Problems.
Yeah, so let's talk about Little Problems. Our Jolly Boys outing episode, the second half, will have not come out by the time we recorded this wrap, so we won't be able to talk about that one yet. So we didn't really address the moment where Alan first arrives, when he comes in with his plaster, but it's meant to be implied that he's actually Danny Driscoll. You think about the way that he is with his coat over his shoulders and everything, looks like a bit gangster. And I think we totally breezed past that. So yeah, we just wanted to mention that.
Because he also says, I thought I'd find you, you toe rag. It's meant to imply, and we didn't mention that at all. So interesting. So I think I had said in the trivia that this was the last appearance of Duke, but I am wrong about that. He was actually in The Sky's the Limit. So yeah, a few people mentioned that. Yeah.
I didn't notice that either.
A few of our listeners pointed that out. Ed Jackson and Bernie Dan. I can't believe that I forgot the appearance of a dog, and I may never recover from this one.
Sorry, dude. I didn't notice either. I also feel the shame. And a little note here on Kipper season, since neither of us knew what that was. Our listener, Gary Bridle, let us know that it was the time after Christmas where people generally didn't have any money to spend, so they weren't taking taxis or buying stuff. And this subsequently meant that the drivers and traders would have to exist on cheap food, i.e. kippers, until the money started rolling in again. So thank you for that, because we had no idea what it meant.
What do you want about? I just took him his kippers. Oh my God.
I told her the 6.
I think of that. Yeah. Basil, there's a kipper sticking out of your jumper. Overall, most people do seem to love this episode and feel the same emotions that we described feeling. A lot of fans really appreciating the mix of comedy and drama. Mm-hmm. But I would say that fans were equally divided on our long argument about the money, which was quite refreshing because I was worried we discussed it for far too long, and I still think we did. But yeah, there's probably about 50-50 split.
And that was the cut version, I'd also like to point out, from the editing. It went on for much longer in the original recording. So yes, thank you to everyone who agreed with me.
Yeah. I'm lying. No one agreed with you. I'm just kidding. They did. So, dude, why don't we talk about our rankings now? And before we do, I will just address the fact that I know a lot of people don't like the fact that we're including the specials, but we're really just summing up the end of this section of the podcast. I know that in this case, dates and Jolly Boy's outing are not part of Series 6, but we're just going to add them in because we're just doing it section by section. Mm-hmm. The whole summary of rankings thing and series wrap episodes are going to end anyway after Series 7. So we'll just be consistent with how we've done it. So let's just go through our rankings for Series 6.
So, dude, why don't you say what your ranking is
Okay,
first?
So my order for Series 6, including the Jolly Boys outing and dates, is at number 1, I have Jolly Boys outing. Number 2, I have Yuppie Love. Number 3, I have dates. Number 4, I have Chain Gang. Number 5, I have Danger UXD. Number 6, I have Little Problems. Number 7, I have Unlucky Winner Is. And number 8, I have Sickness and Wealth. So I think we did actually say, as we love Sickness and Wealth, but it is at the bottom of my Series 6 ranking. It's still rated number 16 overall, but it is the lowest ranked out of my Series 6 episodes.
Yeah, that's interesting because our rankings are very different actually for this batch of episodes, because my number 1 obviously is Danger UXD. The Unlucky Winner is my number 2, and these are literally my number 1 and 2, and then the Jolly Boys outing is number 3. So those are my actual first, second, third favorite episodes. And then Dates is the 4th favorite. Sickness and Wealth is my 5th favorite. Then Little Problems for number 6, Chain Gang for number 7, and Yuppie Love at the bottom for number 8. So yeah, I think this is probably the most different that our rankings have ever been.
Yeah,
for the same batch of episodes.
Yeah.
Are there any that are in the same spot?
No, I don't think so. And yeah, I to be honest, I find this like difficult to visualize. So that's why I do, instead of doing it in order, I like to just look at the top 10 and the bottom 5. So I popped into our scripts a little grid here that shows how many spots we have left in our top 10. I actually only have 3 spots left in my top 10, and you have...
And I have 4.
You have 4, but your top 5 is already fully populated. Do you want to just sum up your top 5 again?
Yeah, so my top 5, number 5 is Healthy Competition. Number 4 is To Hull and Back, and number 3 is The Jolly Boys outing. Number 2, The Unlucky Winner Is, and number 1, Danger UXD.
So
yeah, those are my top 5 eps, and I'm still sticking by that even after all this time.
Yeah, and then the rest of your bottom 5 is empty, except you have T for 3 in your number 8 spot.
T for 3 and
so
number
my
8.
top 10 is a little bit scattered out. I have my number 1 spot filled already, which was the Jolly Boys outing. My number 2 is still vacant. Yuppie Love is in my number 3 spot, and then my number 4 is not revealed yet. Mm-hmm. Then I have number 5 To Hull and Back, number 6 Dates, number 7 Chain Gang, number 8 Danger UXD, Nothing in number 9, and Little Problems in spot 10. So we do both have episodes left in our top 10, but I do think it's interesting that your top 5 has already passed.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's fine. It's bound to be the case, I guess. We've had some brilliant episodes. And I see here you want to discuss the bottom 5 as well.
Well, I put it in, but yeah, it's just to point out that it hasn't changed since the end of the last series. We still both have 3 spots free. And Nothing's been added to the bottom 5. Not surprisingly for Series 6, because I think if anything had added in Series 6, many people would have been really surprised.
Yeah, because I just put Yippee Love at 22 and that surprised so many people. So imagine if I put it at 62.
Yeah, but it's not that weird, though, for many fans to suddenly just have an episode in the low ranking that everyone else likes. So, yeah.
Well, I've got a few in the upcoming, obviously, ones we haven't done yet that I think will surprise some people at how low I've ranked them.
Yeah, it could well do.
But I can explain.
Yeah. I think people don't care. I think people like to hear varied opinions and discussions, and some people will jokingly say it's surprising, but it really is. It's just your favorites. It's just the way it is. And you'll always get people who come along and say that they don't like a certain episode that everyone else loves, and that's always more interesting, isn't it, to discuss than just to be two people.
True.
I mean, I love it when we all have the same favorites too, but
who agree on everything.
Yeah. Again, what would be the point of talking about it all if we all had the exact same rankings? So, yeah.
What is the bloody point? Yes, I agree. Sorry, we're going hard on the Fawlty Towers quotes today.
Yeah, well, I was just at the Fawlty Towers dinner thing last night, which you might surprise a lot of people to know is touring across America and is selling out everywhere it goes. But
yeah, that's crazy. Of all the countries to do it in, I'd have thought the UK would have been the best bet.
And funnily enough, they put you all at these big communal tables, which I'm not a massive fan of, but I did hear. But two of the people that were sitting at our table were like incredibly, like, they're very offended by a lot of the original language of Fawlty Towers and like pulled such a face when I was talking about it, and I was like, if you don't like Fawlty Towers, why are you here?
Yeah, why are you?
But anyway, let's move on to Plonker of the series.
Are you two going to be plonkers for the rest of your lives?
So now it's time to sum up how many times, who got Plonker the most times, and that ultimately means they're Plonker of the series. And unfortunately, I think it's happened again. Del.
Yeah.
Del is always Plonker.
It's difficult. I mean, Rodney can easily be Plonker of the series as well if he was the Plonker more. Rodney and Del, I think it's likely always going to be between them because we'll never nominate Albert because we love him. Yeah, you're right. So Del for dates, Danger UXD, Del. The unlucky winner is Del. Sickness and Wealth, Del. Yeah, it does look like Del is the one who got it the most. So Del is the Plonker of the series.
I don't believe it.
Well done, Del.
Well done, Del, again. So now we're going to talk about the best line of the series. So Jenny and I have actually got all of these options in front of us. I know you guys can't see. And if you want to know what our favourite line was from each episode, you can go back and listen to that episode. But we have decided between us that we think the best line of this batch of episodes, notice I didn't say series, is the line from the Jolly Boys outing, "It's the Coach Busters." So that's a Mickey line, which we love. So now we're going to discuss the best moment of this batch of episodes, which Jenny and I have chosen. Obviously, you may have a different opinion on this. And it's a difficult one. I think the Jolly Boys outing, obviously, with the montage is iconic and it's heartwarming. But the funniest for me is the dolls popping up in Danger UXT. I'm not sure what you think, dude.
Yeah. So out of all of our favourite moments that we chose, I think... Because the Jolly Boys outing one's a bit of a tricky one because it's a montage. It's a whole montage. I wouldn't really call it a moment. The moments are like more like, and yeah, if we try to just exclude the specials as well a little bit here, our favourite moment of Series 6, like what is our personal favourite moment overall? And I would agree. I think my favourite moment would be the dolls in Series 6. But yeah, because I can't say that the montage feels like a moment to me. It feels like a scene, but it's not really a moment.
It feels like a moment in time.
It's a snapshot of time, but
a moment in history. Yeah, I mean, a close runner-up for me obviously would be Del grabbing the drinks and Rodney, the Arcala is here. I just think that's a great moment as well. But,
yeah, but also then, like, moment of the wedding. I don't know. I really don't think that I could choose.
It's so hard, isn't it? Okay, I'll choose for us. I'm going to say the dolls popping up because that was the original one that we decided. So otherwise we'll go on forever. Okay. So those are our rankings and our choices for best moments, best lines, and of course Plonker of the batch. So now we're going to move on to continuity.
Yeah, so this is just a section that we've done previously for our series wraps, and it basically is just our long-term continuity check-in. And honestly, there aren't really that many for Series 6, which is surprising, but We must mention that Series 6 did finally bring us a few years addition to Rodney's life. So he stopped being 23, 24, and he became 26. So if we go back to our last series wrap, we know that the episode runtime extension and the change to the storylines to the more family-oriented plots, Sullivan wanted to grow up the characters, so he finally did grow up Rodney. So, and in case you haven't listened to previous series wraps, it did turn out that Rodney didn't age. For like the first 4 series, he was pretty much supposed to be 23, 24 for the first 4 series. I don't think that dates, ironically, gives us any dates or timeline references at all. But we do know that Yuppie Love has a few, notably the mention of them moving into the flat in 1962, which is the same year that Del stated back in Homesick in Series 3. The only thing that doesn't match our previous calculations is that that would mean that Rodney couldn't have been born until 1962, because we know that Rodney was born in Nelson Mandela, which fits some of the other storylines, but not all of them. So there's always been that little bit of a problem there. We had a guess of 1960, which was based upon references from The Frog's Legacy, because Joan met Freddie in 1959. And back in Thicker Than Water, Del said that Reg left in 1965 and that Rodney was 5. So that's where we got 1960 from. Yeah. And of course, the big one, Rodney says he was a little 5-year-old when Joan was buried and she died in 1964. So many references to Rodney being born in 1960. But then here we have it as 62. So there's where it doesn't match. And I'll always point out this little reminder here that we know that John Sullivan did not keep track of this stuff. And this is just for fun. I am not really sure how much fun I've had, though, calculating all of this.
I've had fun listening to you calculate it.
I have actually got an Excel spreadsheet with all of the episodes. And every time there's a date mentioned, I add it to this Excel spreadsheet.
Cool, blimey.
No. But yeah, it's pretty close, honestly. It's not that bad. It's just a few years. So the remainder of Series 6 keeps up with Rodney's brand new age of 26. He says that he's 26 in The Unlucky Winner Is, and his marriage certificate even says 26. Although we can't see his birth date on there. And we know Sullivan was basing it off 1962 now because of Yuppie Love. So as a reminder, Cassandra is 21, but I'm not sure that we ever hear her age in the show. We only see it on that certificate and nobody believes it. Yeah. So that's kind of it for Series 6, unless we sneak in the wedding date here, January 19th, 1989. And the fact that Jolly Boy's Outing, has that continuity error there where it's in the summer, but it doesn't really matter. So finally, it would be time for our end of series quiz. And this time, it was Heather's turn to create the quiz for me. So here we go.
Arnold what?
Eh?
What's his surname?
Okay, so we've got 10 questions and we've got 2 from dates, 1 from all of the Series 6 episodes, and then 2 from Jolly Boy's Outing. So I've tried to make some of them a little bit easier and some of them ridiculously hard. So let's see how we get on. Let's start with a medium difficulty one from dates. So how many cigars do we see Del smoke throughout the episode? Would you like multiple choice or not?
Yeah, I need multiple choice. I have no idea.
Okay, multiple choice. And obviously bonus points if you can tell me which scenes he's smoking a cigar in. So A, 3, B, 4, or C, 2?
I'm going to say 3.
3?
Correct. Can you name the 3 scenes that we see him smoking a cigar?
Definitely smoking one on the date in the Hilton.
Correct.
And he's smoking one in the office when he sets up the date with Raquel.
Correct.
So is the other one in Raquel's flat after their date?
No, but that's a good guess. It's actually in the first scene.
Oh, in the pub?
When they're talking. We've had a blind in
in the flat, not in the pub. Okay. All right. So, all right. Well, then I at least got the question right.
Yeah. Well done, though, dude. Okay, now this one is super hard. If you get this right, I'm going to be really amazed. Okay. Trigger has a bouquet of flowers for his date. What are the 3 colours of the flowers in the bouquet, not including the green stems?
Okay, I'm going to just blindly guess again.
Okay.
Pink, red, and white.
Ooh, you were so close, dude. Red and pink are correct, and the final colour is yellow.
Aww.
But really good guessing, dude.
I would just like to point out at this point that you said in the Jolly Boys Out and that you hate it when people start a question with, oh, it's so simple. so stop saying whether they're hard or not.
No, I think stating one with it's hard is fine because then it makes you look really smart if you get it right. If you start it with it's so simple, it makes you look really dumb if you get it wrong. It's a different outcome.
All right.
Okay. Question 3. It's so simple. Del makes 5 attempts to make fun of Rodney taking evening classes or going to school. Once he drops Rodney off at the class, can you name the 5 things that Del makes fun of and the order in which they appear?
Oh my God. So he drops him off and Rodney crosses the street.
Yeah, so this is when they're outside the billboard. Yeah, so from outside the billboard to the very end of the whole evening school bit.
So is the first one that he says the green cross code man?
It's not the first one, but that is one of them. Yes.
So is the first one then if the big boys gang up on you at playtime, you tell the teacher?
No.
All right, so but I've got 2 of them already. I got them in the wrong order.
You've got 2 of them, yes. I'm making a note.
All right,
Yeah.
I can't remember the others. I remember the last one, don't lose your dinner money, as he's going in.
That's the last thing he says, but there is another one that's later in the scene. I said the whole evening school bit. So up until he's leaving with Cassandra, there's one more thing that he does or says that is making fun.
Is it the writing his name in the coat thing? You're counting that? Oh,
Yes,
okay.
that's the final one.
All right, well, I
Yeah,
got
I'm
4
counting
out of
that
5,
one,
and
yeah.
I can't remember the order. So obviously I can't remember the first one. What's the first one?
So the first one is, hurry up, Rodney. They'll be calling the register in a minute.
Okay. Right.
That's the first one. And then the second one is, remember what the green cross code man said? The third one is, Rodney, if the big boys gang up on you, you tell the teacher. The fourth one is, don't lose your dinner money. And the fifth one is, Rodney Trotter written in his coat. But you did
Thanks,
very
dude.
well, dude. Yeah, good job. Okay, so Danger UXD. What are the 4 languages that the instructions are written in for the video recorders?
French, German, Spanish, and English.
No, dude. Think about your answer really carefully there.
Why? Oh, there's not one word in English.
Yes.
I don't remember the other language there.
You got 3 of them right. You got French, Spanish, and German. There's one more.
Russian?
No, dude. The last one is Italian. But you did very well again with that one. We have instructions in German, Spanish, French, and Italian, and not one bloody
I don't
word
know why I
in
said English.
Yeah, that was funny. Okay, so now we move on to Chain Gang. When Denzel is trying to speak to everyone, what is the order of characters he approaches and gets rejected?
Rodney first. Oh, no, Mike. Del?
Just keep saying random ones. So the first one is Del and Trigger at the table, yes.
Then he talks to Mike, right?
There's one more before Mike.
Rodney?
Nope.
Oh.
Think about who's at the meeting at the table when they're talking in Chain Gang.
Boise?
Correct. So Del and Trigger's first, then Boise.
Oh, then Mike.
Yeah.
Then
and finally,
Rodney.
yeah, you think about Rodney's last because then he leaves Denzel with Cassandra. Yeah.
Right, yeah. I don't
done,
think I
dude.
get any of the points for that because I didn't get any of them right.
No, that one was the one you did probably the worst on so far, but you know, good try. So the unlucky winner is,
Me.
and guess what? So at the airport, we see Rodney is a member of the Groovy Gang. But how many other members are there?
Oh, that would be a blind guess. 9?
Oh my God, dude, you're correct. Well done. It's 9. Yeah, I literally as well, I had to pause it and like count a couple of times because some of them were like standing behind each other. Yes, there are 9 other children and Rodney is the 10th member of the Groovy Gang. Congratulations.
That was just a guess based on how many people I think could fit in the scene.
In the fun bus. Yeah, good job. Okay, so now we go to sickness and wealth. Neris is describing what was predicted by a medium when her mother attended a seance. What was that prediction?
Her fortunes would be altered by a stranger or something. A dark stranger would alter.
Can you get the exact words? Think about the punchline of that joke. It should help you to get the full words.
Doesn't she say a tall, dark stranger would alter her fortunes?
Tall is correct. There's one word missing, and if you think about the punchline, you should get it.
Well, he's a skinhead, she says.
Yeah, so
A tall, bald stranger would alter her fortunes?
correct. Yes, she'd meet a tall, bald stranger that would alter her fortunes. A week later, she got mugged by a skinhead.
I was trying to remember that. I don't remember her saying a bald stranger, but now that you mention
Yeah,
it,
she does. Yeah, tall, bald stranger. Okay, little problems. How much does Del offer to sell the mobile phone to Mike for?
40
40 what?
pounds.
No.
45 pounds.
Wrong episode.
It is 45 there.
It's 40. 40 is correct, but what's the word afterwards?
40. Oh, I have to get that.
Yeah, of course.
40 knicker.
40 knicker. Correct, dude. Well done. Congratulations. Okay. 2 now from the Jolly Boys outing. We'll start with the less hard one, I think. Actually, both of these you might get. Let's see.
What is a female swan?
Swan call. I imagine that was the question.
It should be.
It should be, but I think you get it. Okay, so who is the first person off the coach when they arrive at the halfway house?
Oh, Jevon.
No.
Trigger.
Sorry, dude. It's Rodney.
Oh.
I know. I was surprised too. Okay, and finally, this one, I even though I've seen it a million times, I don't know if I'd get it, but you might do.
I might just guess it. Who knows?
Yeah, okay. What colour is the ball that Albert kicks on the beach in the montage?
Oh, yellow.
No. It's pink.
It's not pink.
It's bloody true, I'm telling you.
It's pink. You can watch it back.
But I feel like the photo that I took of the scene.
I don't know about the photo, but I watched the episode and it's pink.
Let me look at the photo because I thought it was yellow, but not that it matters. But I've got photos of the montage on my phone here.
I have no idea what your score was, but I actually think you did quite well on that quiz.
I did do well because I randomly guessed some. Right?
Yeah, but your random guesses were right, so it counts. So hopefully you guys at home enjoyed doing that quiz. I don't know how you guys did. I know some of my questions might have been a bit difficult, but I don't think any of those were like so stupidly hard that, well, except maybe triggers, flowers, colours, but I don't think any of those were so stupidly hard that you couldn't guess at all, right?
No, they're all guessable, and I think, like, I know that you're always trying to come up with things that maybe I won't just be able to get, because it's like often a lot of us will know lines, but then when you really quiz down and you try to say how many times and in what order, most people won't be able to get that without thinking and guessing. So
yeah, totally.
Yeah, everybody, if anyone played along and did well, let us know how you did below. But for now, I think we're kind of finished up with Series 6 now, and we're moving on into the last series of Only Fools and Horses.
So drink up, we're leaving.
So that's it for Series 6. Join us in 2 weeks' time when we will be starting Series 7, kind of, with Rodney Come Home, the Christmas special 1990 that aired right before Series 7 started. But it often gets lumped in with Series 7. Until then.
I got the trouble, come along. Well, I just meet my song in Honolulu across the sea. Making wakey wacky down in Waikiki.
Au revoir, listeners. If you like what you hear and want to contact us, you can email us at longlivehookystreetpodcast@gmail.com. All one word, no spaces. Please like the video and subscribe. You can also find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, iHeart, Instagram, Facebook, and please use the link in the description for our Buy Me a Coffee. Bonjour.